I spent 15 years of my life mapping other people's worlds while my own burned to the ground. Let me tell you how an antique atlas, a woman who collected lost places, and a single handwritten note in a language I couldn't read taught me that the most important journeys are the ones we take when we finally stop running from ourselves. My name is Julian. I'm 41 years old, and I used to be the kind of man who could tell you exactly where you'd been, but had no idea where he was going. I was a cartographer, not the modern kind with satellites and GPS, though I did that too for money. The old kind, the kind who restores antique maps, charts forgotten trade routes, documents places that exist now only in yellowed paper and fading ink. I was excellent at my job. I could look at a map from 1843 and tell you where the river shifted, where the town drowned, where the forest reclaimed the road. I could trace the ghost of civilization across centuries of change, but I couldn't read my own life. The old me was always moving, always planning the next expedition, the next restoration project, the next escape. I had a beautiful apartment in Lisbon that I treated like a storage unit. I had relationships that lasted exactly as long as the project that brought us together. I had a sister who stopped calling because I only answered when I needed something, and parents whose funerals I attended via video conference because I was trapped on assignment. I told myself I was dedicated, passionate, committed to preserving history. What I was terrified. Terrified of stillness, of silence, of the moment when the work stops and you have to face the person you've become between the projects. I filled every hour with maps because maps have edges, boundaries, clear beginnings and endings. Life doesn't. Life just keeps expanding in directions you didn't chart. The breaking point came in Istanbul, 2019. I was restoring a 16th century porcelain chart for a private collector, one of those rare navigational maps that showed coastal details with almost photographic accuracy, drawn by sailors who knew the rocks and currents better than their own children's faces. I worked 18-hour days. I didn't eat properly. I drank too much Rocky and slept in 4-hour stretches on the workshop floor. The client was demanding. The deadline was impossible. The map was exquisite. And I was dying. Not dramatically, just fading. My hands shook, my vision blurred. I started seeing double when I looked at the coastline I'd been tracing. 2 overlapping versions of the same shore, one real and one imagined, and I couldn't tell which was which. I ignored it. Of course I did. I was Julian Vance, master cartographer. I didn't break, I didn't stop, I finished projects. Then came the morning I couldn't stand up. My body simply refused. I lay on that workshop floor, staring at the ceiling, and I felt something I'd spent decades avoiding. Emptiness. Not the productive emptiness of a completed task, the terrifying emptiness of a life built entirely on escape. I should have called someone. I should have gone to a hospital. Instead, I crawled to the shelf where I kept my personal collection, maps I'd acquired over years, not for clients, for me. And I pulled down the one I'd never been able to work on, the Atlas of Lost Places. I bought it in a Cairo book market 15 years earlier, paid too much for it, couldn't explain why. It was incomplete, damaged, partially burned. A collection of hand-drawn maps from different centuries, different hands, different parts of the world, all bound together with no apparent logic. A city that sank into a desert, a monastery that walked across mountains, a library that existed in 2 countries simultaneously. Impossible places, mythical places, places that shouldn't be mappable because they shouldn't exist. I'd never restored it, never even properly examined it. Every time I opened it, I felt something I couldn't name, something that felt like recognition and warning at once. That morning, lying on the floor, I finally looked. The first map showed a coastal village I'd never heard of, drawn in ink that seemed to shift when I tilted the page. The cartographer's notes were in a language I didn't recognize, not Latin, not Arabic, not any script I'd encountered in 15 years of specialized study. But the coastline was familiar, too familiar. I knew those cliffs, those particular rocks, that impossible bend where the harbor opened. It was my grandmother's village, the one where I'd spent summers as a child, the one I hadn't visited in 20 years, not even when she died, the one I'd deliberately forgotten because remembering meant feeling. I turned the page. Another map, another lost place. This one a city built on stilts over a lake, documented in 1783. The handwriting was different, but the language was the same unknown script. And the lake, I'd seen that lake. I knew the shape of those mountains reflected in its surface. It was where Elena and I had honeymooned, where we'd promised each other forever before I made my work into a wall between us, before she left, and I let her, because it was easier than building a bridge. Page after page, every map a place I'd been, every place a memory I'd buried, every memory a door I'd slammed shut because walking through meant feeling what I'd felt when I was there. The atlas wasn't a collection of lost places, it was a map of my own lost self. I found her 3 days later, still on the floor, still reading, still not eating, still not calling for help. She found me. Her name was Marguerite. She was 73, French-Moroccan, owner of the bookshop below my workshop. I'd seen her dozens of times, nodded politely, never truly seen her. She was just the woman who sold poetry to tourists and occasionally brought me tea I never drank. She let herself in with her key. Apparently she'd been hearing my irregular movements or lack thereof and had grown concerned. She found me surrounded by open maps, crying in a language I didn't know I still spoke, the language of childhood and grief and unprocessed loss. "You found the collection," she said, not surprised, not alarmed, just recognizing. "You know this atlas? I sold it to you 15 years ago in Cairo. I was younger then. I traveled for books. I found that one in an estate sale in Alexandria. The family had kept it for generations, never understanding what it was. I knew the moment I saw it. I was waiting for the right person to need it." Need it for what? She sat beside me on the floor, knees cracking, comfortable in the chaos. "The Atlas of Lost Places doesn't map geography, Julian. It maps absence, the places we leave behind, the versions of ourselves we abandon. It finds you when you're ready to stop running from yourself." I showed her the pages, my grandmother's village, Elena's lake, the university I'd studied before dropping out to pursue mapping, the hospital where my father died alone because I was charting rivers in Patagonia.
Every cartographer who owned this atlas added their own lost places, Marguerite explained. It's a tradition, a confession. We map what we cannot return to, and in the mapping, we find our way back to ourselves. She reached into her bag. She always carried a bag that seemed to contain everything, and pulled out a pen. Old, beautiful, the kind that requires dipping in ink. "Add yours," she said. "Not a place you've been, a place you're going. The version of yourself you've been fleeing toward. Map that." "I don't know who that is," I admitted. "Then map who you were," she said, "before the running, before the maps became walls. Find that child, that young man, that person who believed in something beyond the next expedition. Draw him, give him coordinates, make him real enough to find." I stayed in Istanbul for 6 months, not working, not running, just being. Marguerite taught me to read the atlas's language, not with translation, but with memory. Each symbol corresponded to an emotion, not a word. The curved line that meant longing, the dot that meant regret, the spiral that meant hope so fragile it could only be expressed in geometry. I added my map, not with skill. My hand was unpracticed, uncertain, but with truth. I drew my grandmother's kitchen, the specific angle of afternoon light through lace curtains, the smell of bread and lavender, the feeling of being known completely, safely, without having to earn it. I drew Elena's hand in mine on that lakeshore, the silence that wasn't empty, the future we imagined, foolish and sincere. I drew places I'd never been but needed to go, a home that wasn't temporary, work that wasn't escape, a self that wasn't performance. And slowly, I began to understand what Marguerite meant about the atlas finding you when you're ready. The maps I'd been making my whole life, precise, documented, verified, they were about control, about turning the chaotic world into something bounded, knowable, finished. But real life isn't finished. Real life keeps revising itself. The coastlines shift, the cities drown and resurface, the roads close and reopen. Real cartography, I learned, isn't about capturing what's there. It's about accepting what changes. It's about documenting not just the place, but your relationship to it, your presence in it, the you that existed there once, and the you that exists now, remembering. I finished the restoration project. Of course I did, but differently. I told the client I needed 3 more months. I told him why. I risked his displeasure, his withdrawal, the loss of income and reputation. He gave me 6 months, and he asked me to teach him what I'd learned. I started saying no to projects that required disappearance. I started saying yes to work I could do from home, from community, from connection. I called my sister, apologized for years of absence, asked about her children, my nieces, who knew me as a name in Christmas cards. I flew to see them. I was awkward. I didn't know how to be an uncle, but I showed up. I kept showing up. I found Elena, not to win her back. She'd built a life, deserved that life, but to apologize for not having been present when she offered me everything, to thank her for what I'd failed to value, to release her from any guilt she might carry for having left. She cried. I cried. We parted as something new, not married, not friends exactly, but honest, seen, released from the performance of what we'd failed to be. And I went to my grandmother's village. It was different, of course. The bakery had closed. The house was owned by strangers who'd renovated away the lace curtains. But the light fell the same way. The lavender still grew wild where her garden had been. I sat on the steps where she'd sat with me, teaching me to shell peas, telling me stories of her own lost places. And I finally understood that she'd been trying to teach me what the atlas eventually did, that we carry our places with us, that absence is just presence transformed, that the only way to lose something forever is to refuse to remember it. I'm a different cartographer now. I still restore antique maps, but I also create new ones, maps of memory, of emotion, of the interior territories we navigate without knowing we're navigating. I work with refugees, documenting the places they left, not to preserve political boundaries, but to preserve belonging. I work with Alzheimer's patients, creating maps of their shifting landscapes, honoring the truth of their experience, even when it doesn't match external reality. I work with children in foster care, helping them map their many homes, their many selves, making coherence from fragmentation. I have a home now, a real one, in Lisbon, where I started, but different. I live in it. I cook in it. I have friends who visit, who stay, who know where the glasses are kept. I have Marguerite. She lives downstairs. We share meals. We argue about poetry. She is teaching me to grow old with grace, which is the final mapping, learning to chart the territory of limitation without despair, of ending without fear. The Atlas of Lost Places sits in my study. I add to it still, not just my own maps, but those of people I work with, people I love, people who need to document what they've survived. It's grown to 12 volumes, a library of absence made present, a geography of grief transformed into connection. The lesson, if you need it: we spend so much of our lives running from what we've lost, from who we were, from the pain of memory. We build careers, relationships, identities around the avoidance. We become experts at anything that keeps us moving, keeps us from stopping long enough to feel. But the lost places don't disappear. They wait. They find us eventually, in dreams, in illness, in the moment when we finally can't run anymore. The only way through is to map them, to name them, to make them real enough to integrate rather than real enough to haunt. You are a cartographer, whether you know it or not. Your life is a territory. The versions of yourself you've abandoned are still part of the landscape. The grief you haven't processed is still shaping the coastlines. Stop running. Sit down. Open the atlas you've been afraid to examine. Find someone who can teach you to read its language, not with translation, but with memory, with presence, with the courage to feel what you've been fleeing. The map is not the territory, but making the map changes how you navigate. It makes you present. It makes you honest. It makes you finally found. I'm Julian. I map lost places, and in the mapping, I'm learning to be here.